Bueno, pues yo no comes magazines, Nadishkaze. What I'm glad to be here today. Started this teaching today. I'm going to share with about building relationships. And so I started in a good way by beginning with that smudge, just to draw in the good spirits, and also to bring my mind in as one, mind and heart as one, and to be aware that the connection. So a couple of things. I was going to talk a little bit about the building relationship with the drum and the sound of healing, but I think what I have in front of me today, I wanted to talk about because I actually went out and gathered some wonderful pine and cedar. And today, a lot of people are reaching to understanding more about their environment and ways to be able to support our wellness during this time, growing our own food, and also looking at natural ways of healing, right? And so holistic healthcare has been around for a very long time and is now more so recognized with, various levels of Western model of medicine, as well as it's okay to talk about these things, right? It's okay to talk about reflexology. It's okay to talk about aromatherapy. You can buy diffusers now. You can put essential oils in them. And they're a real big thing at Winners and various things. Winners, Walmart. Not that I'm trying to give any of them props. I'm not. I'm just saying that you can find them anywhere, drugstores for that matter. So people are starting to really reach for the natural medicines and the natural ways around us connected to our earth. And I think that even more so, you're seeing even on your Facebook channels and Instagram channels and on the TV adverts about how to heal, how to take a course here. The first 4 lessons are free, and just different things because people are at home, and they're also looking at how do I sustain myself, right? So when I was out today, one of the things that we do here in my home, and we have for a number of years, is use the white pine and the cedar as part of the um, medicine plants that I bring to a boil and have it move through my home. And so today I gathered a basket of these things on the property we have here on the land that we're at because they're there. But I want to talk a little bit about building relationships with these things and how to do that. So the first relationship and the first teaching of anything is again offering that someone and that tobacco, because when you offer tobacco to someone, you are offering, there's that the person has a choice to take it or not. A lot of times the person will say, well, what is it you're asking for? Because maybe the individual can't help you. So they wouldn't want to take your tobacco if they can't help you. They would want to refer you to someone else, right? So we always offer that tobacco. So I'm offering that tobacco to be able to, one, talk about what I'm going to share in a few minutes, and two, because I've been asked to share, right? And it's building that relationship with the spirits to be able to help me with sharing this in a good way. So you start with that relationship by in yourself. So your first relationship starts with your spiritual bundle within yourself, ensuring that you're in a good way to be able to move forward to gather the medicines, to go out and to bring them into your basket or what you're needing them, what you're asking them for, right? So you need to be in a good way. And in a good way means that you need to be able to have a good mind, a good emotion, in a good way. Your physical body needs to be well, and your spirituality. So maybe it's meditating, maybe it's just quieting yourself and making sure that you haven't even consumed any type of illicit substances or alcohol, because the plants are alive, and we believe and we know. I don't want to say we believe, because we know there's a spirit in everything. Okay, I mean, if we didn't have spirits and things, we wouldn't exist in this way. So I'm not going to say we believe. I know there is. So I think we all know that there is. If we choose to believe or not, it's there. So making sure that you're well, making sure you're balanced, and then going and collect. So today I did all that, took my basket in the old way, and went out to the trees on my property and took that tobacco with me and offered the tobacco to the white pine, offered the tobacco to the cedar, because I'm not only asking that it gives some of its life force to me through a tea or through boiling it on the on the stove for the air in my home, but also that I, as a two-legged, a human that's trying to be, remembers why it is there to help us. So I am remembering the gifts that these two trees provide for our wellness. Okay, so those two plants, those two trees, are thankful that I remember, so therefore they'll continue to grow and provide. The exchange of relationship. So I did. I gathered what was the white pine, and then I gathered what was the cedar. And so I want to share a little bit about the white pine. The white pine is good for flus and colds, good for your breathing. And if you take off this white pine here, and you look at that, it's connected as being one. And if we look at, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 needles there. It's like our hand. It's 5. So that's how you know that it's the white pine. And then when we look at this cedar, this is good for colds. To me, it reminds me of the bronchi in our lungs. If you study anatomy and physiology, which I did years ago, this is like kind of like our lungs inside, all the little bronchi and alveoli. So therefore, it would be good for cleansing, and it would be good for our lungs, and it would be good for the air we breathe, because it looks like that. So a lot of things in nature have the teachings right in them. So after I gathered enough of the plants, I came in and I found myself a really large pot. And I don't know, it's about 2 gallons. It's a very large pot. And if you're going to put the cedar and the pine in that, you need to make sure that it's a pot that you're not going to use again, because it does create a film. And you can put the plants in, you can bring it to a boil, and then you can turn it down to a simmer. What will happen is that the steam will go through the house. It will smell wonderful. It will be able to help you physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, right? Because it'll make you feel lighter. It'll make you feel like you are outside. It has a calming effect, because cedar is actually used in a lot of ceremonies. It's one of the 4 medicines in the area here of the Southern Ontario. We have those 4 medicines, and that's one of those medicines that we use for. And you know, it was told to me by midwives a long time ago that when a baby was born and it was kind of fussing, that they would lay the baby on the cedar, and the baby would stop crying, because it's a nurturing energy. I was also told by one of my mentors years ago, his mentor, before she passed away, and she was in her early 90s, and she would go in and do her ceremonies and her lodges. The only medicine she ever brought in was cedar. That was it. And because it has such a properties on so many levels. And so you can learn more about cedar, and you can learn more about white pine. You can ask an herbalist. You could even look at sometimes in various places you can take courses, you know, from traditional people. Friendship centers sometimes offer teachings around these. There is sometimes organizations and different reserves that do as well, to learn more about how to prepare medicines for teas or stuff and things like that. But building that relationship is important. And it starts with building it within ourselves and then building it outwards, right? We can't pick up things without having a relationship. It's the same thing, with the drum. We have to have a relationship with the drum as well. It has a way it communicates. And if we understand our own spiritual bundle, how our spirit communicates with us, right? Then it's easier to understand how other spirit communicates with us around us, if that is our family member, our community member, or the natural world. It's all about building relationships. And if we take the time, I think years ago when our people, even though we spoke different languages, I think there could have been more time taken. I think we know there could have been more time taken to understand and build those relationships. Sometimes relationships take years. They don't happen overnight. Relationships with even the cedar, my relationship with the cedar, maybe even more tomorrow and the next day. I'm open to that learning. I'm open to that understanding. And so as long as we stay open and we don't limit our learning, then we're able to continue to build. So in understanding our own spiritual bundle, where that spirit lies, how we connect to ourselves, knowing what that feels like, then we can understand that around us. So that when we go to sit with the cedar or sit with the pine tree or sit with the drum, we have a relationship, This drum, has a certain like storage, like a bag that it likes to be in. It didn't tell me that at first. It need to be wrapped up in a certain protocol because it is a teacher. But I want to be held this way. I want to be wrapped up in these colors. And when you drum, sometimes it doesn't have a certain way that it wants to be held. Sometimes it could be this way. Another time, maybe it's this way. It depends, because I have a relationship with this drum. So if this drum is singing with me, and I'm singing with the drum, I don't own this drum. This drum is a helper, and it works with me, and I work with it. And we have that relationship. So I think that we're building those relationships a lot when we're in our homes now and having to be self-isolated. Maybe we are building relationships with people that we live with that we might never thought of before. Maybe some of our relationships require, more outreach to others, through the internet or through the phone lines, through social media, to help us during these times, right? If your experience is not as positive, and sometimes that happens too when people are in each other's space for long periods of time. So just making sure that, we're keeping that relationship with ourselves strong, our spirit strong, and our wellness. And these are some of the medicines that we could be using now to help just lift your spirit, lift your emotion, your mental state, your physical wellness, and it just makes you feel good. And it's a great way to start connecting with the world around us if you have those things in your yard, or maybe they're up the ditch, they're up the road or something, right? So, but if anything that we have, even relationship with our food, it's very different if you build a relationship with your food while you're preparing it or if you're growing it. And as you prepare it, how many times, I'm going to leave you with this. How many times you've been invited to somebody's house for dinner, right? And they make something like, I don't know, something that you make, right? And you say to them, this is amazing. Like, it's really, really good. Like, wow, I wish I could do that, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that tastes like that? I don't think it's because you're not a good cook. What I think's happened there is part of that is that the person invited you for dinner. They set that up in place. They wanted you to be part of their home. They wanted you to be part of their preparing that food. They wanted to prepare that food for your physical wellness, your spiritual wellness, your mental wellness, your emotional wellness. They started from the very beginning of buying the food, selecting the foods, maybe growing the foods, preparing the foods for you to then take that in at all those levels. And there's a lot of love that goes into that, or they wouldn't have invited you. so, so yeah, it's going to be very different, right? So when you preparing your food, be loving and kind around your foods, relate with your food, connect with your food, and take a few minutes before you eat your food to be thankful for the food. And then the food goes into your body, and there's a relationship there. Okay? I'm going to leave you with those thoughts. Chimigwech.